gospel is written in Greek, of course, but here we have popped out, it's one of the few cases where it's popped out the words that Jesus himself would have used. I love to read the gospel there because I know when I say that, Talitha Chum, that I'm saying words in my mouth that would have been in the mouth of Jesus. And it's a very powerful thing to do. Right, so it must have been a big deal. He goes over and he says, get up. And that, of course, is one of the things we mentioned. But then what does he do? He returns her to her parents. He gives them back their role. He makes them whole again. They are again parents of a little girl. You see, from the start of the gospel all the way through, nothing is left undone. The woman comes for a flow of blood, finds her faith has healed her heart, her spirit. The synagogue official comes for his daughter. She is healed, but they're healed as well. His faith, their role as parents are given back to them. All right? The battleground that Jesus is walking, it's like he's firing one after the other in these battles and knocking down the enemy of despair, of depression, of illness, of death itself, of doubt, one after the other. Got that context? Now, I never knew I liked Michael Jackson. I have to admit it. I didn't think I did. But over the last couple of days, I realized I know all of his songs. I realized as I was watching all these things on television that I delight in his dance. I mean, the man is like wind on water when he dances. Just incredible. And yet, do you not get some kind of resonance from today's gospel? I mean, the minute I heard that he had died and that there may have been difficulties about the living and the dying, all I could think of was that old Simon and Garfunkel song, Richard Cory, you know, the rich man who suddenly does himself in. And I'm dating myself, but it's a good song if you're younger than I am. Try it. Good message. And you know, and I thought to myself, he's like this woman. You know, he's gone to every body he can think of to sustain and to fix what he thinks is wrong. To how many doctors, how many physicians and people who deal in the drugs, and nothing got better. In fact, as the gospel says of the woman, it only got worse. There was no one it seemed in his life who loved him enough to point him in a direction that would have saved him. I propose that today's gospel is making a statement about that direction. In today's gospel, Jesus is constantly front and center. Everything, all of these healings, all of these situations keep coming to the person of Jesus. That, of course, is not an accident. Mark intends it that way as he tells the story. But it's also a very essential teaching. Do we do that? Whatever anybody here faces, we're on a battlefield with our Lord. The world is that battlefield between the forces of death and the power of life. We are on it. We're on it when we feel the creeping depression, when we feel the dryness in a relationship, when we feel the anger welling up within us and wanting vengeance against the bully that besets us. We're on it when we're so angry at our parents, or we're so frustrated with our children. Because the response will determine how the battle will win or lose. If we keep our eyes on the Lord, if we're constantly going to him saying, what do I do with this? With this illness that I face, this death I've experienced, this dying to self that I must undergo. The promise of the gospel is that always fear is useless. What is needed is trust. And that we will come out on top. And I know that many times we say, Lord, help this, I give it over to you, and nothing seems to change. What do? Well, you do what the synagogue official said and did. Where you go, I'll go with you. You know, they told him that she was dead. He didn't know what was going to happen or what this teacher was capable of, but the Lord said, fear is useless. Trust. And he just kept on going. Well, we have to do that sometimes too. confident that the Lord in His own way will heal what needs to be healed. Not always the thing we give Him that needs to be fixed. Sometimes it's something in us, in our own hearts, or our own lives. We have to let Him do what He knows to do. But always if it's Him, and Him alone, that we're looking at, our promise is that victory will be ours. You know, that's one of the things that this second reading is so beautiful. We talk about this battlefield where we have to ourselves wage the fight in our decisions. Wage the fight for how our world will be, how I will be, how my family will be. But in that second reading from Corinthians, we have that magnificent statement on the part of St. Paul. He made Himself poor so that we could become rich. You are recipients of the gracious gift. I've never been able to found a church and name a church, and they know, because if I did, I would name it Gracious Gift Catholic Church. I mean, what a wonderful thing to say, well, our heritage is that we have received the richness of Christ. That's why we can do what we are needing to do. Whatever it is today, we all in this place, right here, right now, are all facing something. We've all got issues. Everybody. From 4 to 14 and 40 and beyond. The question is, how are we going to look at them? And what are we going to do with them? Now, Michael Jackson, God rest him, made some very bad choices about what to do with them. And all that talent, and all that money, and all that adulation couldn't save him. But we can be saved. Not by our talent, not by figuring it out, not by always being right and never being hurt. But by dying to ourselves in Him, it's possible, as long as our eyes are on Him, no matter what we face, that we give ourselves to Him and follow His will. It's always Talita, Kaum, little girls, little boys, rise up, be alive. Your faith has saved you. It matters not what we face. Now, here. It doesn't matter. He's bigger than anything we're facing. Smarter than any problem we have. Deeper than any pit we're in. May Jesus Christ be praised forever. Amen.